Raz, raz. Raz, dwa, trzy. One, two, three. Raz, 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 dwa, trzy. One, two, three, one, two, three. Hey everyone. Hello everyone. Hello, hello, hello. I hope everybody can hear me. I hope everybody can hear me. I hope everybody can see me. I have made some improvements to my setup, mainly the ones you don't see at the moment. So I switched from my Windows slash ArchLinux laptop to the MacBook I have at hand, which gives me some significant performance boost when it comes to, just being able to work with the stream and just display stuff. I might, before I begin explaining the stuff I've done and maybe showing you everything, I might just post on my socials. By the way, I've gotten some lovely comment on one of my socials. I don't really want to spook the guy, but I might even mention this later because I find it extremely funny. I wrote that I've successfully installed ArchLinux alongside of my Windows on my desktop PC during yesterday's live stream. Today I'll try to game on Linux. And the response was the one and single only comment is, "What do you want, a fucking cookie?" It's hilarious. I absolutely love it. By the way, I might yeah, I need to screenshot that before it gets deleted, but I find it absolutely hilarious. Is there a simple way I can share my transmission? Oh shit. I've opened my YouTube studio and I was greeted with the message that my YouTube channel has 2 years, which, looking at it from a certain perspective is very, very sad. It's so This is literally very unhuman friendly interface. Okay, got it. Yep, almost done. Is there anybody in the chat even? Oh, so I already have some stuff launched and fired up. You know, sadly, I had to troubleshoot stuff before the stream, so you are not necessarily going to see the whole process, but that was mainly because I really wanted to focus on, you know, actually showing and explaining stuff instead of just me bumbling around with only my face cam. Hooray! So I think yeah, I think maybe one last place. But I do need a certain graphical file downloaded. You know, in hindsight, I might have done that before the stream, but it is how it is. Yep, almost done. Just bear with me for literally a second. Yeah, almost done. Hooray! Oh my, why did it get so? Yeah, perfect. So, welcome everyone to the ArchLinux with KDE Plasma installed. As you can see, since yesterday I took the liberty of choosing a new wallpaper. We might change the wallpaper to something else later on. I'm not gonna hide from you that this will mostly be, uh, a gaming stream, quite possibly, but uh, checking if the stability is there is also part of the process. So, yesterday, we've ended up with just Arch Linux installed with KDE Plasma, and I think I've also installed the NVIDIA drivers. That was a thing that you shouldn't be doing the way I did yesterday, because there is a significant difference in NVIDIA drivers that is not obviously visible at the very first glance. So, what I'm talking about? Well, basically, uh, if we list our loaded kernel modules and grep by NVIDIA, you can see that we have some NVIDIA modules loaded into a kernel, right? The problem is those can be loaded but may not be initialized and or working at all. So the problem is there are a few variants when it comes to NVIDIA kernel drivers. There are like NVIDIA DKMS, NVIDIA Open DKMS, just NVIDIA, stuff like that. It turns out, I mean, I was kind of suspecting that, but I wasn't aware how it actually works. It turns out there is a whole world of difference between NVIDIA DKMS and NVIDIA Open DKMS. Well, one of those, mainly NVIDIA DKMS, requires you to have an officially signed kernel. So I'm not really sure what authority they require, but I would presume they require a kernel signed by Canonical or Ubuntu or like whatever CA they trust. And if you don't have your kernel signed by uh, their trusted certificate authority, it will load just the way it's visible now. It will be the very same thing you will be seeing. The problem is that, uh, and just so you know, I've already have the proper module installed, but the only way you can realize that you've done something, wrong and you have improper kernel module loaded is by checking the dmesg, right? So if you go and look at the dmesg, here you can see that everything is mostly fine. So you have like NVIDIA loading. Yes, the kernel is tainted, blah, blah, blah. Module verification failed, signature and or require key missing, tainted kernel. But other than that, everything works fine. If you have the NVIDIA DKMS instead of NVIDIA Open DKMS installed, after this message, you'll be seeing some messages about uh, the kernel not being able to load and throwing errors and not being able to initialize and stuff like that. So one other thing you need to check to be 100% sure that everything is working is NVIDIA SMI. I might go full screen for that. You'll need NVIDIA SMI, right? So NVIDIA SMI basically 100% tells you that the GPU is visible. It shows you some basic info about it, the utilization, the used memory, the applications that are actually using your GPU and are being loaded into its memory. Basically, if NVIDIA SMI is not working or is not being able to detect your GPU, then something is definitely wrong. So as you see here, everything is fine. Pacman -q grep NVIDIA. So I have two NVIDIA packages installed from the Arch. One is NVIDIA Open DKMS, and the other one is NVIDIA Utils. And NVIDIA Utils basically gives you the NVIDIA SMI. So that's the very, very basics. But there's also one other thing I didn't know yesterday that I know now. Well, basically, let's look at the boot EFI Linux boot EFI. Um, this is my unified kernel image, right? So I was living in assumption that if I am using the DKMS, um, I was under the assumption that that kernel module would not be included in the unified kernel image and it would be loaded dynamically from the drive after the initial boot process setup. That was wrong. So basically, the NVIDIA DKMS is bundled up in the EFI unified kernel image. That means that this kernel image now uses 240 megs or 300 even. If you are using some other NVIDIA driver, it may depend on the NVIDIA driver. Instead of 50-60 megs, it used to take without the NVIDIA driver. So basically what I forgot to do or didn't realize I had to do yesterday was that after installing, basically after doing this, I also had to execute this in order for my Pacman hooks to fire up, rebuild the kernel image and include the new modules. And after that, I obviously had to reboot, right? But that's pretty much simple. So that basically changes two things. If the unified kernel image now takes up over 200 megs, then this 512 megabytes is just not enough. It's simply not enough. It's too little, right? If you are going to, have more of those, maybe you want some proper versioning of those kernels, etc., you need at least a gigabyte, right? If you are going to go with the way I installed and provisioned ArchLinux. Uh, Aside from that, that was pretty much it. So, I've had more problems with um well, by the way, that's Tosaka. I've had more problems with configuring my display in order for the stream to work because I am not streaming directly from the PC. I am still using a capture card. And as you can see here, I have my Elgato that's configured into a replica of the main display. I've discovered this a very interesting thing, but I think that has to do with how Wayland manages things. So I think I can show you. I mean, I cannot show you properly because I can only show you, um, the result. But I think I might be able to explain everything. So for example, let's fire up the Talos principle. Yeah, and whatever the default version, blah, blah, blah. By the way, great game. Highly recommend. Let's go to extras and let's go to benchmark and let's set the limit for 60 seconds and let's start the benchmark. So as you can see, the average FPS started at 50 or 60. Now it's gone into 150, 40, 60. Now it's even 200 something, right? So it's increasing. 270, 80, 90, 300. Okay, that's interesting, actually. So whenever I just fired up the PC with the KDE Plasma and I've just downloaded the Talos principle and run the benchmark after properly setting up the drivers, I've had like this exact same result, 300 FPS. But then I've connected my capture card and I've set the display to mirrored, and it turned out that I wasn't able to hit more than 150 or 70. So I thought that with Wayland and KDE, it may be the fact that it may not be just mirroring, it might be rendering on onto two displays. And I was pretty sure I've tested it in between reboots, but it seems like now I was proven very, very wrong. So maybe I have done something, or maybe it has corrected itself to actually work properly. Because I was expecting this to be like 200 or whatever, or maybe 150, but now we are getting proper 300 FPS that I was getting earlier. Let's run this one more time just to see if the results are, still the same. Oh, sadly, I've just noticed that I only have my mic input that's being captured into OBS, and I don't really have the audio output. That may be... Okay, I think I know why. Well, never mind. Sadly, we may not be having the audio captured from the 385. What the hell? Is it being cached so well? One more time. I should be writing those down, to be honest. I'm not sure if you can see. It's right below. It's like right here. You can see the benchmark stats. It's behaving surprisingly well. 300. I mean, it's so weird. Like the average FPS, I think the method it's counting it is weird. By the way, one little thing I think is weird and I might fix. I think that Apple's voice isolation is pretty weird and might make my audio choppy. So I might switch to OBS's. Okay, let's see how about now. Yeah, I think it's better sounding like this. Okay, so yesterday I was also mentioning, I was also talking about what what do I consider by games that run natively on Linux? Because, I obviously didn't mean that the games that are compiled for Linux, or you can compile, because those are too far in between, especially when it comes to, proper big games, AAA or whatever. So basically I meant uh, this little thing. Let me show you it properly. If you run Steam on Linux, you can see this little icon appearing. It says show only games that run on Linux. So if you click that, I think you can already see how my library gets thinner. Like Fable Anniversary, nah. Hard Space Shipbreaker, nope. My Summer Car, nope. So it obviously like has some there is some criteria as to what Steam supports, that it can be run through their abstraction layer that allows that allows them to run the games on Linux. It may be the case of them just not implementing the profiles for everything yet, but I would think that, for games like uh, Hard Space, Halo, Fable, maybe Halo, maybe not Halo because that's like a Microsoft game, but My Summer Car, or you know whatever, that if this was just a matter of profile, I think that would be already done. So that's what I consider like gaming natively on Linux on Steam. And obviously, GOG. Um, GOG obviously has games that you can click and, you know, select for Linux, and then you can basically download them and run, and they will install, or they will just run straight from the binary because they are probably statically compiled or whatever. So yeah, that's what I mean by native gaming on Linux. I would assume that, if somebody would like to play a game on Linux and they are not necessarily Linux savvy, they know Steam, they know GOG, they know probably Epic, Ubisoft platform or whatever. They don't necessarily know about Wine and the hurdles they have to go through in order to launch a game via Wine. What do you mean I have to download the game and then like run it in some special way by myself? Why is it not click and play, right? So I think that this working as it is very important. So one other thing I wanted to know was to how can I browse Steam for games that should be playable, or would be like visible after clicking this little penguin icon, right? So the answer I found was that, the Steam obviously does not guarantee that every game will work under any Linux, obviously. But if you go to the store page of Steam and you go to categories here on top, you can see there is Steam OS plus Linux. And if you click there, you have a dedicated page for games that should run on Linux. Like there is no 100% guarantee, but uh, they should be running, or at least trying to run on Linux. And I started browsing this category like right before the stream. And to be honest, I would like to find a game here that is at least somewhat graphically demanding. Hello from Switzerland. Hey! Nice to hear you. Nice to hear from you. How's the weather in Switzerland, by the way? I mean, this is like the ultra small talk, but it's surprisingly interesting to know the weather if you're living on the same continent and how it varies. So I will be probably here for a little bit to browse and find at least one graphically demanding game. I think maybe Black Mesa is a candidate. I mean, I have Total War 1 or 2, and I think we can also check Total War because this is basic. The Total War Warhammer is basically a very demanding game. Maybe not necessarily GPU wise, but definitely CPU wise. We can see how that works. Uh, I would love to see. Oh, okay, there is like a full list. Great. So we could decide if there's anything that will be interesting to see if it plays on Linux. I had high hopes for Expedition 33 to be here, but I'm not seeing it. Oh, also have in mind that I have my Steam NSW filter turned off, so I'm not actually Swiss Romanian. I came here escape from Tarkov. I mean, is escape from Tarkov describing your situations of escaping from Romania to Switzerland, or is this a game suggestion? Yeah, I get it. So as I was saying, I have my NSW filter turned off, so all sorts of things can pop up here. So don't be surprised. I don't care. City skylines. Yeah, that maybe. I'm not seeing city skylines too. I have both of them. Project Zomboid, not. Art of Raleigh. Buckshot Roulette, nope. Payday 2. Jesus, I used to play that on my during my university studies. Firestone. Horny Villa. Oh, maybe we'll play this. Outlast. I mean, everything is very old or not necessarily graphically demanding. Interesting. Oh shit. I mean, I am very afraid that if I hover too long over those porn games, they will start showing me screenshots of something that should not be live streamed. Everspace. I, I'm not sure if I played it. Oh, Metro. Metro seems like a good candidate. Project Passion. Yes, please. Arctic Eggs. What? Is that a horror? It is a horror, I think. Pathfinder. Fresh Women. Metro 2033 is the best game on this planet. I think I only played the first Metro game. I liked it. I mean, I also know some Russian, so if possible, I really like to play those games on with original Russian dubbing. By the way, yes, I'm because I have those two games. Hey, Lucifer, I have those two games installed and ready to go, but actually, I also might want to start installing the Warhammer, and after that's done, Warhammer 2. I don't really have free. Is there anything in my library? I don't think I have anything like other than what I already have installed, highly demanding. Transfer my i5 to 2300 and GTX 520. Yeah, I think 2033 is how old is it? Is it like 5 years old at this point or even older? How's the experience on Linux so far? Well, basically I got it working. Uh, So it's running on Arch Linux with KDE Plasma, and surprisingly, I think KDE Plasma was one of the secret ingredients to making everything working. I think I saw some suggestions on Level 1 forums. And by the way, if you are wondering what the hell is Level 1 forums, I will show you one of the best YouTube channels when it comes to actual enterprise technology. This guy runs a very good channel and has a very good, highly technical forum. None of that Reddit bullshit. It actually has some proper technicians, like, taking part in the community. Last time I played anything on Linux was 5 years ago, and it wasn't that good. So it kinda is plug and play at this point. So maybe not with ArchLinux. I would say that if you are early adopter, and by that I mean you have GPU fairly quickly after launch, like I have 5070 Ti now, and you want to game on Linux, then it's kinda on you, and you have to be somewhat technical for everything to work. But now I will show you once again. Let me just quickly fire up the Talos principle. But now, just as you saw, I just installed Steam. I just clicked play. The game launches. Let's go to benchmark. Let's go for 60-second benchmark. It works. So if the stream quality allows it, you can see the FPS down here. I do think that the Talos principle has some very weirdly working average FPS method of calculation. It is basically very weirdly doing the calculation of FPSs, but we are hitting over 300 FPS now. I think that my record was 380 FPS. What do you think of the new Doom game? I haven't played it, but to be honest, I was kinda out by the second Doom because I really liked the lore and the story and the setting in the first one, the 2016. And then they tried to make the extended universe, and I think that they really went too haphazardly and basically made everything, like very, very weird. Like the story went in some very weird ways, and game mechanics that they added like very quickly and very like dramatically spiked the difficulty. So I wasn't very keen on either knowing the story or either the game mechanics. So I basically completed the Doom Eternal, and I haven't even bought the DLC. I was out. I've heard that Steam Proton support in the past few years has elevated the user experience highly. As you can see, 360 FPS. Maybe it's time to jump. No. I would say that while it may be fun, the gaming on Linux, for tech enthusiasts and people that just want to play around, it's still like it's still mostly for people who just want to play games that are either older or they know that they are supported. If you want the full game experience, like if you want to be able to play any game, like just run it, no matter the FPS. We are not talking about hardware being old or new. Still, Windows or consoles are the way to go, in my opinion. Sadly, I can't pirate it. It has the Nouveau anti-piracy software that only one guy knew how to crack. Seriously? The Nouveau was like only one guy knew how to crack it? By the way, I discovered some interesting YouTube channel. Oh my god, I probably Uh, that might be highly irresponsible. Oh, exactly. This guy hacking this terrible DRM. I've noticed that he has a channel where he is talking about, and he's also showing how to crack, how the cracks were made for the older games, right? So if you remember Sekiro, Jesus Christ, I remember that I was unplugging my DVD or CD drive because if it was plugged in, then the Sekiro went crazy. The crack I had for the game also didn't want to work, so it was it was Wild West when it comes to that. But this guy has a really cool channel where he basically shows you how the older games were cracked and how the the security measures were implemented when it came to anti anti crack software. So Nathan Bags, highly recommend. Okay, so we have, by the way, I haven't tried anything else other than Talos Principle, so this might be a wild ride. Oh yeah, and Total Warhammer 2. I also recently started soaking many, many hours into Stellaris again, so I'm afraid that if I hit that play button, we might just play Stellaris for the rest of the evening. So while that's downloading, let's continue our search. Maybe, but yeah, by the way, Black Mesa. That's okay. That's 5 years old at this point. Fuck. So I'm basically interested in something that has fairly recent and decent video API, but it seems that nothing that's basically a new game is outright supported on Steam. I wonder if it's the case with Steam Deck. If Steam Deck has more titles, I think I can browse by, yeah, Steam Deck. Oh no, that's just the, no, actually, there are games that weren't visible on that other list, like Hogwarts, Oblivion, Fallout 4, Cyberpunk, and Baldur's Gate. Yeah, okay. So I wonder what makes the games work on Steam Deck, but they do not want, that being available on Linux. Maybe some licensing agreements. My experience on Windows 11 is so bad. If SteamOS official launches for PC, I'll jump in a heartbeat. Uh, why is it bad? I mean, to be honest, I am operating system agnostic. I am running Windows, Linux, Mac OS. I want to say FreeBSD, but that's basically Mac OS or any PlayStation console. Did you see the Nintendo Switch 2? It's a joke. Uh, is it really? Oh yeah, sorry. By the way, that's Polish Google. I want to see some. Oh, I think I can switch to English, or I can't. Uh, so is there like a TLDR? Well, definitely not on the Nintendo's website. Features. Bringing games, blah blah blah. New Joy-Con controllers with magnetic connectors. Yeah, it's fine. Mm, yep, new dock. Yeah, better stand. Hmm, that's cool. Yeah, some shitty camera. Yeah, I don't think they are like games cost like 90 bucks and it runs like 30 FPS. Uh, yeah, so I think I've heard about that. And you know what? It will still sell like crazy. And I wouldn't, and even I think I would buy one if they release something good. That's because Nintendo releases hardware, but they also release games for that hardware, and those games are really, really good. Have you played their recent Zelda games? They are like perfect gamey games. They are like I wish if I were to describe a game, a computer game to someone, I would just show them the Legend of Zelda. It's the Nintendo still knows how to make games that are fun to play and do not require you to sit through a 30-minute tutorial. Have you tried Bazite OS? I haven't tried it myself. Seen some videos on YouTube. I don't really I don't really partake in OS testing. I only use mainstream OSs. You also have to pay to use the chat feature, the one with camera, and it's basically just Discord. So pretty much like PlayStation Online. You have to pay for online, right? I guess it's okay for kids. I would say many games that are good for kids are also good for adults. Bezite is very gamer friendly. I mean, if this is going to be just a fork of Ubuntu, then because I think that there is nothing more harmful that's being done for the Linux community than the bazillion of Linux distributions. It's fragmenting the community, it's fragmenting the developers, it's fragmenting everyone and everything. And they pretty much do nothing interesting. So is it okay, RPM? So it's probably based on Fedora, I would say. It's based on Fedora. Yeah, so it's basically a Fedora with some software pre-installed, slapped a new distro name, and good to go. I mean, Linux should realize, and by saying Linux, I say that people that create those distros, that by making those distros, there aren't really helping anyone, because I want to play games. I don't want to install dedicated operating systems just to be able to play games. Especially if the only thing that this operating system is doing, or that distribution is doing, is just having Steam pre-installed. And I've literally installed Steam even here just by going here, searching Steam, and clicking install. Hello, yes, I use Linux. What OS am I using? Sudo Yeet OS. I mean, I think that, I've long since decided that I only want to use the systems I'm working with professionally. And, the big corporate world is using mostly, or, enterprise world is using mostly Debian, Ubuntu, um, Rocky Linux because CentOS went to shit. Maybe Red Hat, obviously, because still many people pay for support. Um, and maybe I think there was like some cloud distributions, cloud distros, stuff like that. And everything else for personally for me is non-existent. Because everything is pretty much a fork or based on those main distributions. And but like I said, my viewpoint is skewed by the fact that I am working with those systems professionally, right? If you are happy doing those distributions, I mean, or if you are learning stuff or you are just doing that for fun, sure, have fun, learn new things. But I still think that it is like the way people approach Linux distros is fragmenting the community in a harmful way. Everything is based on Linux robots. You would think that, but not necessarily. Remember that FreeBSD is not Linux. And FreeBSD is the operating system to go if you actually want to have enterprise product and you want to earn money and you want to sell something with software on it. FreeBSD is way more prevalent. It's different from Linux, especially if you look into some interesting hardware like high performing firewalls or routers or switches. If the company like Arista, Cisco, or whatever is not implementing their own OS, most often they are using FreeBSD because it has superior networking stack. So I think that this will sell. And I think that depending on what games Nintendo will push, it will sell. Like when I went to the US, almost everyone had Nintendo Switch, even people that were like 40, 50 years of age. Based on Gabe Newell, the Valve god. It's supposed to be Windows versus Linux and not Ubuntu versus Fedora versus Mint. It's so frustrating only if we were all together. Yes. Yes, Linux is fragmented in so many ways. Uh, the distros, the graphical interfaces, the X versus Wayland, uh, the apt versus Pacman versus DNF versus whatever, right? It's like imagine having that same situation with Windows, that the core of the system that you are not interacting with is the same, but everything around that is different depending on what Windows version would you run, right? It would be terrible. I mean, Windows has that one strength that everything is the same everywhere. Yeah, so let's try the Warhammer. Do you do water cooling? Uh, on my PC, yes, I have a CPU cooled by I think Arctic Freezer 2 or whatever. In my data center, obviously, almost. Okay, so not everything is water cooled, but many things are water cooled. I think our supercomputer Cray XC40 is water cooled. I mean, yeah, obviously, all of our heat exchange is water cooled. Oh, unsupported Linux distribution or version. Your current Linux distro does not meet this game requirements, blah blah blah. Okay, you may go. It's basically saying that you may die. Continue anyway. Your current active CPU governor. What the hell does it mean by governor? Like scheduler? Like hard pipe cooling like the GPU too. No, so in my current PC I have only the Arctic 302. But no, not this one. The free. No, sorry, this one. Yeah, this one. Well, yeah, I think it's this one. And my GPU is 5070 Ti, so which version do I have? I think it's this one. Whenever I say a newbie to use Linux and then he says which one, I think that's the problem. Yeah, well, oh, game crashed. Huh, interesting. Signal 11. A CPU governor is a part of the operating system that controls CPU frequency scaling behavior. Isn't CPU doing that by itself? Search custom loop hard by PC and go to images, they look sick. Yeah, I mean, I know. I don't care, and I will tell you why. All of the cooling industry when it comes to PC is nothing. It's literally nothing compared to how you cool servers in a data center. Because get this, if you are building a PC, you are choosing the cooling for CPU, for GPU. There are better or worse cooling solutions. And then you are like, okay, my cooling solution is decent. My CPU can boost for, 5 to 10 seconds before it overheats and throttles down on frequency. It's fine. In a data center setting, your cooling solution has to be optimized so that your CPU can be boosting 100% of the time 24/7 non-stop. That is the difference between enterprise world and the desktop PCs and the commodity and consumer world. Servers use air and they are loud and you don't look at it every day. Wrong, 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 wrong. Bad answer. I mean, with 800-watt GPUs, they simply cannot be using air. I mean, they can, but then the cooler is like 4 units high, and it's detrimental to your performance because the GPU cannot boost 100% because it's being throttled down due to the thermals not being able to be exhausted. So you have to use liquid cooling. I work at a data farm here in Norway. We use air, but maybe because air is already very cold here. I mean, you are definitely not blowing the atmospheric air into a data center. So I am maybe talking from the point of high performance computing, because if you have just, a server VPS farm, then sure. But let me just show you. If you are talking about computing platforms or computing farms, which one was it? This is my video from Supercomputing Conference. This whole server is 100% water cooled. Those are GPUs and CPUs, basically. On top of that is even an SSD that's water cooled by using the water flowing through the CPU. Even the RAM sticks are water cooled. you can see that those gray thingies are basically like special material that's used, that's kind of soft, which allows the heat pipe to stay in contact with the RAM to pull the heat better. Yes, supercomputing, you don't need water for hosting data and other. That depends still. Otherwise, Google would have been bankrupt. Uh, why? My man, Google has technology you are not even dreaming of. Yo, do I get the 5070 Ti or 79 XTX? I don't know. That depends on whether you want CUDA or not. If you want CUDA, go with NVIDIA. But if you know you need CUDA, then you definitely already know that you need to go with NVIDIA. And if you don't, then you can go with Radeon. So, copper isn't cheap, maybe in Eastern Europe where they buy from a gypsy kid for cheap. Jeez, man. So, so you were saying that you don't need water for hosting data and other. I said that that depends because if you are doing high I/O data access, you might need high CPU frequencies for the I/O, and to keep the frequencies high, you need the CPUs cooled efficiently, and that's where water cooling comes in. By the way, sadly, our Total War Warhammer is not playing. I also and I don't even mention that even if the servers are air cooled, because there are some like baby servers that only like are being used to host some VMs. Your data center or your data farm is still running on water. In Nigeria, they probably have truck radiators. In Nigeria, they have chillers. In Poland, we have chillers. You, you privileged prick in Norway, you can pretty much run free cooling 24/7 throughout the whole year. You have no idea how hard cooling is in other parts of the world. You have it way too good. So will we get segfault? Yep. To be honest, I am. Oh, it's trying to run on X server. By the way, will the Warhammer 1 have the same problem? Blah blah blah. Continue anyway. What the fuck? Why is Warhammer 1 working, but Warhammer 2 is not? Yes, and then you try to go to work and your car is literally frozen to the ground and use blowtorch on the tires. Get yourself a tank. Or, even better, build yourself a garage. Okay, this has been a surprise I was not expecting. So how the hell the older Warhammer works and the newer Warhammer does not? It's funny to think how others want to live somewhere cold and the people in the north want to live somewhere warm. Yeah, I mean, we all the grass is always greener on the other side. The newer World Hammer is Chad, the older one is Chad. Yeah, uh, you need to start producing the memes. You can like clip this, do whatever, do memes, post them on Reddit, promote the channel, promote the stream. By the way, Oh, one other thing, one little thing I also wanted to check and I completely forgot, blah, blah, blah. Will not be really playing everything. Options, graphics, low, fuck you, ultra, please. Okay, I am not sure I am seeing the ultra, but that may be because I am playing a 10-year-old game. Options, graphics. I think it also said that it might do those after I restart the game, so we might do just that. How's the performance, bro? That's a very good question. I wish I could properly benchmark the FPS, but I am not sure how to do that yet, unless the game has inbuilt benchmark tool. There's some fly flying around. Reddit is okay only when you know where to look. Yes, yes, the Reddit in general is a cesspit, but it's a useful cesspit. I can't use. Uh, I know Afterburner, yeah. I mean, I can monitor the server, as I mean server, the PC. You know, the CPU usage, GPU usage. That's easy. How much FPS am I getting though? It's a whole other story. Oh, there is a benchmark. Okay, yes, let's run that. Yes, please. Yeah, MSI. Yeah, I also forgot which company is doing that, but yeah, exactly. So we are rocking 100 FPS. And by the way, this is full HD resolution. And I am doing everything in full HD in order for my capture card to work properly because I am not streaming directly from the PC I am playing the games at. I have this like connected via screen mirroring and capture cards to my laptop that's taking care of the actual stream to the YouTube. So it's not like, the stream is affecting the performance of the game, just so you know. Okay, now we are hitting 180, 90, 200 FPS. So it also is like strangely climbing, just as it was with Talos Principle. Does your laptop get hot? Uh, so I am actually running the MacBook Pro with the M2 processor. It's fairly decent. I am surprised how good the new MacBooks with ARM processors are. They're surprisingly amazing pieces of hardware. Highly expensive, but they are pretty much amazing. Is it more complex to use ArchLinux to both stream and game? Not really. I think I've been streaming from Arch with OBS. It just works pretty much. Oh, you got a MacBook that's gold compared to what some Windows laptops are cooling and all. I got like it's not personally mine. It's my work MacBook that I basically am using because nobody else wanted to. But I thought that it might be good, for some people to actually have an experience with the hardware. Mm. Like this is also my work laptop, so I'm basically dual wielding at this point. This is my Windows slash Arch Linux secure installation laptop. It's a Lenovo, obviously. Oh, interestingly. So we've hit some interesting lows with 73 FPS and we've hit a high with 250. But the ARM MacBooks are pretty well designed and thought about. So even if this is like M2 processor and we are on M4 right now, and I think that it came out along the same time this Lenovo came out. I think maybe it's a bit newer. This is like E4095. It has some AMD Ryzen processor. Uh, the MacBook is so good because they actually gave it some proper single core, zero core performance. So it's way better just for navigating the web. It's way more responsive, it feels better, more smooth. It's just well thought out hardware. Do you remember or know at all that weird Intel thumb drive computer called Compute Stick? It was just HDMI stick with an Intel Atom inside. I know what you're talking about. I have never used it. Basically, when it came out, I was interested, but I had no money. And now that I have some spare income to buy stuff like that, it's already dead. By the way, let's run this benchmark again because I kind of want to see if the graph will be the same or maybe after it's cached or done something, it may be different. We'll see if the results are reproducible. By the way, I'll be right back. I just need to do one little thing. Does ArchLinux lessens the input lag or does it spike it? I haven't been convinced that the input lag exists. I have never played a game to a degree where I would say I am noticing an input lag. By the way, this is my mouse. You can clearly see you can clearly see I don't give a fuck. They make modern computer sticks now with 8 gigabytes RAM and good processors. By the way, yeah, I think we can see that there is also a dip right here and there is also a spike here and it's overall similar. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, yes, they make modern computers in a stick. Sadly, they cost a shit ton of money. Yeah, that's that. Logitech MX Ergo. I absolutely love those mouses. Basically, if you're unfamiliar, this is a mouse where you basically don't move it. You only move the trackball, and I am comfortable playing FPSs or any other types of games with that. I am mainly using it because I used to have like an ache in my wrist, you know, due to moving and stuff like that. And when using this mouse, I don't have to move my hand at all. So ever since I've started using these types of mouses, uh, I haven't had any aches in my wrists. Okay, that's very interesting. Oops. So yeah, H top and watch and one NVIDIA SI. We can also like try this once again. I'm not sure if it will work like that. How many and what games have you tried on Arch? Uh, just the games you see here. So I have some rules about what I want to try. Yeah, Warhammer 2 is no go. I have some rules about what I am trying. So basically, what I consider. Oh shit! I clicked quit. So what I consider a native game for Linux is something that I can either download from GOG.com and just launch, or I can just click play in Steam. So for now, at least, no wine shenanigans or stuff like that. And it turns out there aren't many, I want to say AAA, or at least like, graphics extensive games for Linux that are at least somewhat supported. Are the games limited on Arch? I mean, that depends on how far down the rabbit hole you want to go. If you want to play with Wine, and Wine is like a framework for running Windows games on Linux, then sure, I think you can fire up Cyberpunk even, no problem. It just depends on to what degree do you want to spend your time on doing extra stuff with your computer, with your system, instead of just hitting play. Yeah, we can see that the GeForce is now pulling 150 or 200 watts. Warhammer is using like 2.5 gigs of memory. Yep. The load is like 5. GPU is utilizing like, well, pretty highly, 80% even. It's like 56 degrees. So maybe to answer your question a bit further, yeah, whatever, fuck this benchmark. If you go to Steam page, if you go to Steam Store and you go to categories and you click on SteamOS plus Linux, you'll pretty much see the games that are available on Steam, and they are somewhat supported, but with no 100% guarantee that they will run on Linux. And in library, this is my full library. If you click this penguin icon here, and it only shows up if you are running Steam on Linux, it will filter by the games that are somewhat supported on Linux, and you can choose from that. God forbid my grandpa discovered YouTube Shorts and now he's on his smartphone all day. He used to go fishing and all. Yeah, it's funny how the technology we've already learned to avoid is catching our parents or older people like a trap. Okay, time to test the space crack. Oh, that's interesting. Thanks for the info, bro. No problem. No problem. So, oh shit. Yeah, there was like a launcher upgrade message. So all in all, I wouldn't advise everybody to just jump over to the Steam and play on Steam. Sorry, on Linux. Not yet, anyway. I think there is still ways to go. It might depend on what Valve is doing. Greetings, TTI0. Sadly, there are no like safe sync on Steam between Windows and Linux, so I don't have my save. I would have to play everything from scratch. What's your go-to move when IO weight is high but IO top shows nothing unusual? That might suggest that that one of the hard drives or drives is broken. it basically may suggest that something is waiting on a data that's not arriving. So maybe the hard drive is damaged or is close to failing. Can it run Doom? That's a great question, actually. I don't think I've seen. Yep. Let's close the space crack for now. That's a great question. Okay, so I have it in my library, but it's only available for Windows. Makes sense. I have old HDD. You can try running smartctl, for example, smartctl -a def sda. And just try to read some of that data. Adapted from IDE to SATA. Oh shit, that's really old. By the way, you say adapted from IDE to SATA. I want to show you something very quickly. It's from one of my older videos on my YouTube channel. So basically I am like this doing something with this 20-year-old server. Those are the hard drives. So I will be pulling them out in a second. Do tell me if you recognize that connector. Do you recognize this connector? Do you know what the hell that is? Is there any other way to run Doom on it? Probably Wine, but I haven't done anything with Wine on Linux. Like maybe 10 years ago when I was younger, I may have tried something, but recently I haven't touched Wine at all. Battle of Stalingrad drives, yeah. So this is SCSI interface, by the way. The original SCSI interface. And I still have interfaces like that on my tape drives, and I have bought PCI Express to SCSI adapters, mainly when I was doing the Cyberpunk on a tape drive. Okay, I need to cover my face. So this is a fully functional taped LTO tape. I still think it's very cool. I was on the fence. What do I want to do with LTO tapes? Do I want to preserve my games from GOG.com? Or do I want to preserve my anime collection on those? And I think it's, for now, easier to just, you know, write some cool games on tapes just because it's easier to manage the library like that. So I think that ideally, one thing I can do, and that may help me, is actually run Prometheus to gather some data. What processor do I have? I have AMD Ryzen 9 79X 12 core. If it's a disk issue, could a background process in a PTI still be blocking IO silently? If it's a disk issue, could the background process in PTI still be blocking I/O silently? Maybe. I mean, if your machine is having like a high load, uh, I'm talking about this, the load average or whatever. If your machine is having a high load, but it's not reflected in the CPU usage, then I would say it's very often pointing to some kind of storage failure. So you have to put in every command for an action. For an action for what? What do you mean? Oh, what the hell is Darwin? By the way, do excuse me, but this is now a Prometheus installation bit of the stream. RX Prometheus. So if I want to do this properly, I probably should add a dedicated user for Prometheus. Is it user add or add user? Okay, user add Prometheus. Like downloading apps and programs for internet, or check how much resources are being used, like Task Manager. So for Task Manager, I mean, HTOP is basically something I'm used to working with. I'm not sure if, you know, it, it's not easy to answer me that, because I am thinking in a bit different terms, right? So I would say many things in Linux are easier to do from CLI because it was designed like that. And truth to be told, many things you are seeing here, like this App Store, right, is just a wrapper for doing this. It's just like a graphical wrapper, right? Because Linux has some bit of a different approach where it gives you the package repositories. And basically it has to do that, but that's a story maybe for another time. And so, for me, as a person who works mostly with servers and doesn't use the graphical Linux interface as much, it's just something that's my muscle memory. So you may see me doing that often, but that's also due to the fact that I am not really familiar with graphical user interfaces in Linux. I mean, most of the time, whether you are using graphical user interface or CLI, the result is the same. It's just that you took a different path to get to the same destination. So if the load average is high but CPU is mostly idle, does that just mean threads are stuck in uninterruptible sleep waiting on I/O? It shows up sometimes for a few seconds and disappears. Like I said, if you want to go highly technical, there's probably an ocean of knowledge that I am not even familiar with. Um, it comes down to how you're calculating the load metric. And that's not something I can just talk about from the top of my head, to be honest. I checked with top and IOTop, but didn't see anything obvious in D state either. The drive is still spinning fine. You can also check DMESG. If there are some problems with kernel, with hardware and stuff like that, it will probably be in DMESG. Interestingly enough, we have traps from our Total War Warhammer 2 in DMESG. which means that something went fucky wacky in kernel. Actually, what the hell is it even here? I mean, I don't really want to debug this at the moment, but it's interesting to know that it's actually dumping to the kernel. It's a good thing we don't have a blue screen. I think if it went worse, the error was more serious, we could have ended in the Linux equivalent of blue screen. Oh yeah, I wanted to set up the Prometheus real quick. Uh, can you use Blender on it? I have, and have you tried 3D rendering? I think that Blender will be running no problem because I think it's natively compiled for Linux. So with Blender you have, I would say, 100% succeed chance of it working. Have I tried 3D rendering though? I think when I was like 18 or 90 years old, 19 years old, I think that was the last time I tried modeling anything in Blender. Respect, figured as much. The thing's been ghosting in and out of D-state like it's a ninja. Might have to trace it with BLK trace or just go full perf on it. Or just buy a modern SSD, it's probably cheaper. Like just buy a terabyte or 512 gigs of SSD and just spare yourself the trouble. If it's still like IDE drive. I mean, if it's something you enjoy, then sure, but I can also say that please, people, remember that your time is valuable. Do I have Tmux? I don't. Hackman as Tmux. My friend gave me this drive before he passed. I swore I'll keep it until last legs fail. Understandable. Now that's a story. But maybe I'm sorry to say that, but are you sure he didn't give it to you to make sure it's erased? I mean, I don't want to rip on you, but you know, if I gave a hard drive to my best bud before I passed away, I would definitely tell him to get rid of everything that's on that drive. Okay, how did Prometheus work? It works in a way that I am not familiar with very easily. And we can try and let it run for some time. Has his old games and save data. Well, that's a, I mean, truth to be honest, that's a data that's definitely worth keeping. I mean, I also have some drives that are very, very old, but they do have my either old save data or, stuff that's hard to come by. He didn't really give it to me, but forgot it at my house when we were having a LAN party. Yeah. Oh yeah, the best method of stuff acquisition. It's like I was given the thing, and by given I mean somebody forgot to take it. Mm. By the way, if you are ever interested in how difficult it is to calculate load, you can try and see how that's done on Prometheus. Probably gonna get a Gen 5 SSD and a new board just for the flex. This is literally a reason why I bought the motherboard I have. To be honest, the Gen 5 SSDs. I'm just waiting for them to be a bit cheaper, but you still need to be extra careful because sometimes they may have Gen 4 performance, but they are just using less PCI Express lanes. And currently, I have this motherboard, and I am already using all of the M.2 IOs. You pulling node exporter metrics straight or doing anything custom with disk IO and scheduler stats? Uh, I will get to that in a second. But by the way, this is the motherboard I have, and it has like PCI Gen 5, and the other like here and here are Gen 4, and that two slots. And this is where my Arch Linux lives at the moment. All of that is used. I also have like two SATA drives. I really like storage. But going back to your question, you're pulling node exporter metrics. So by default, Prometheus is pulling performance metrics from the hosts it's running on. So it has this inbuilt like web dashboard, and it's actually gathering some data. So as you can see, localhost, blah, 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 metrics. It's just that I am not very familiar with querying it on the fly like that. I just bought a 5070 Ti. Am I gonna be doing Linux gaming build tomorrow? Lol. Good luck. Good luck. You might find it interesting to watch either my yesterday's stream, that's a VOD on this channel, and the first 20 minutes of today's stream that will be also published as VOD if you run into any problems, because I think I've cracked most of those issues, but still not everything is running as smoothly. For example, we discovered that Total War Warhammer 2 does not work on Linux, but Total War Warhammer 1 works flawlessly. Loves an integrated I/O shield, but only SATA SSDs. Yeah, well, I mean, really, you don't have M.2. You really must be running some old hardware. I might just. Okay. We need to try the space crack to see whether it will be stable. We'll probably check it out then, thanks. You're welcome. So if you're not querying on the fly, how do you usually surface discredited spikes in Prometheus? It's most likely loitering. I'm not trying to measure I/O. So Prometheus is just there to, because right now in running in background it's running and just collecting metrics. I am not sure. I don't remember exactly what sort of metrics it's running by default. I'm not sure if it's like running and collecting performance metrics per each drive. It like monitoring hardware and systems is highly complicated. And if you are not aware that you have a plugin and you know how the plugin works for collecting a metric, then you are probably not doing it right. I have set up, I don't want to say many, but I did do a fair deal of Linux system monitoring, and sometimes it's so complicated. Do you smoke, and if so, did it ever affect your PC? And so, yeah, that's. Do you smoke, and has it affected your PC? I don't care about your health, but has it affected your PC? That's a great question. No, I don't smoke. But I do remember when I was like a wee lad. I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13, and I was going to my family member that had a PC repair shop. And I remember him saying that when people bring in a PC to fix, when you open it up, you know right away whether they clean or not in their room, whether whether they keep their house clean. You know it right away. So currently with PC not having a lot of moving parts, maybe not, but if you are like smoking constantly in front of PC, then I can imagine that the smoke and residue just sticks, just stays and sticks on the components, on the fans, on the blades, just like dust. So are we playing ultra xenophobic government, basically the emperor of mankind? Because I have already played the aquatic people. Yeah. Default human, warrior. As you can see, I don't really have many DLCs, so, but I still like the base Stellaris experience. It sticks on the M.2 SSDs I don't have. Well, SSDs, I mean, with SSDs and M.2 drives and NVMe, there is this weird thing where they can't be too cold to operate optimally. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but I do remember reports where people were saying that, you know, only when it's running at 90 to 100 degrees Celsius, they can see the peak performance on those drives. I'm not sure if that's still the case though. Oh yeah. Let's explore. So we can play this for a bit, like for a few minutes. But still, sadly, there isn't like any. I mean, for the next stream, I might check out Wine for Linux, and we could try, I don't know, Cyberpunk or something. I think that the most interesting thing would be to wait. Uh, yeah, I think we will do one thing in a second because we can note down our benchmark results from Warhammer and from Talos Principle, and we can compare them on Windows. Because this is a dual boot PC, I can just reboot it onto Windows and we can do the same benchmarks and we will see whether they differ much. Random, but what did you start with, like your first Linux distro? I think that's again when I was a wee lad. I started with CentOS because I was reading some dumb tutorial on how to start your own World of Warcraft private server. But I would say that officially my first distro was Debian. I think it was like Debian stretch, just your stretch, like 8 or 9. That was the time where I was like, you know, finally educated, and that was a decision that I made consciously. And I would be still running Debian probably if it weren't for the fact that I really wanted to switch to Wayland and Sway as soon as it came out, and Debian had problems with that, even with backporting packages, so I just switched to Arch. What's one tool you can't live without in your daily setup? Um, I would say there isn't any. I am not using any, you know, I just use the standard CLI tools that are in the system, like, you know, cat, grep. He's about to say vapes. I don't vape, no. I only do hardcore drugs and alcohol. But I assume that when you say tool, you meant like a CLI program, and you know I only do I even have hard time, you know, trying to switch away from Bash. I mean, I'm not fan of any other shell than Bash, but if you would want to say tool, I would say those like Apple earplugs, the Apple Pro 2, whatever they called, just because they have a very good noise canceling. So whenever I'm in the data center room and you know every fan is spinning and everything is humming, buzzing, and being very noisy, those do noise canceling very, very well. He's about to say vapes. But yeah, like in general, I just try to use the most plain and available tools in the operating system, like especially in Linux, and that's mostly because uh, I do work with a lot of servers, right? So when you log on to a server, you don't have your fancy schmancy terminal. You don't have your Vim macros. You don't have your plugins. You don't have your, favorite suite of software installed. What you have is the most standard cookie cutter set of software that is provided with, I don't know, Debian, right? Or Rocky Linux, or something like that. So I'm trying to avoid being too accustomed with some custom setup I could have on my laptop, and I just want to run everything as standard as I can, basically. You ever try Fish or ZSH, or are you straight up Bash forever? Think you would ever switch at some point? So the reason why I don't switch to any of those is that most of the time, if I write a script, I write it in Bash for a server. And Bash has, many functionalities or features that, can make the Bash a very, very useful, like a tool, right? And it's backwards compatible with Bourne Shell. What's So I think that, if you master Bash, then I don't really think you need other shells. I think ZSH, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it can be backwards compatible with Bash or something like that. I think like I had a discussion about that with colleagues, so maybe ZSH. But in general, I like my philosophy is that if you are working with servers, those servers do not have that mm, custom hardware most of the time. So I would rather stick to the tool set that's standard, and I would rather know that tool set well by using it, instead of being highly efficient on my laptop and not being highly efficient anywhere else. Like I think that this also like comes out during talks with job candidates. Like they are too dependent on the tool that's highly custom that they've grown to like, because they've learned that somewhere. But when you give them like server or an environment that doesn't have that specific tool, they are completely lost. Many basic scripts written in Bash will run in ZSH without modification. Yes, I am worried about the other way around. When you start using ZSH features that are not supported in Bash or Bourne Shell, like maybe some syntax can be different or stuff like that. I just think that being like backward compatible and keeping things just working is so important for Linux. Some people just don't imagine. True, Bash is kind of the final boss if you're deep into scripting. Do you ever miss fancier feature those like auto suggestions or syntax highlighting from Fish? Not really. I mean, syntax highlighting, if you open stuff in Vim or Nano or whatever, you still, if you are writing scripts, then sure, everything is still highlighted. Um, auto suggestions work in Bash, by the way. Those do work in Bash. You can have your own custom auto suggestions. You can have your DNS hosts populated into your Bash environment, and if you are trying to autocomplete some host name, then that can be done for you in Bash. So, Like I said, those features are there. You just need to be aware that they exist. They may be a bit trickier to use, but still. Like, I think it's just us LMAO, yeah. Uh, like some people do tell me that, because I did see that in action. Basically, somebody was using some fancy schmancy shell where they could like easily search their history of commands, just to remind themselves what the syntax was, and then they SSH into a server that had only bash, and they were like, oh, and then I literally saw them hitting up arrow like 100 times, trying to do the exact same thing, because they couldn't just do history pipe grep whatever, right? They were like up, trying to do that very same thing, just because they knew how to do that in their own shell with a shortcut, but they didn't know the basic toolset to do the same without that shortcut, without that extra features. By the way, how long have we been online on for? Jesus, almost 2 hours. Okay, so I will run the benchmarks one last time and I will write down the results. And then we'll switch to Windows. We will do those benchmarks again on Windows and we will compare our results. Bro was searching for an ancient command of power from 3 reboots ago. Yeah. Yeah. Let me just grab a pen. Hell yeah, we will do this the most analog way ever, with a with a piece of paper and a pen. So let's go to extras, benchmark, 60 seconds, and start benchmark. He thought Bash had a scrollback buffer like VS Code or something. Yeah. I mean, Bash only has the history file. Okay, let me write Talos on Linux and Windows. Why is the FPS now only 50? Oh, something is fucky. Oh, whoa. Something is going horribly wrong. 55 FPS. What the hell? What the hell? I mean, we were like doing 380 in the beginning. What the fuck? Is something else hogging the resources? I don't think so. Is the Prometheus like using everything up? Okay, we can disable Prometheus. Okay, we have to do... You're going already? No, I'm not going already. I've said that we will try to benchmark this and then we'll try to benchmark everything on Windows and compare results. That will probably take another like half an hour, especially considering that we've encountered some very bizarre issue. But you know, I have to end the stream somewhere or someone. It's 10 p.m. and I still would like to drink some beer and play some games on my PlayStation. Why is it 50 FPS? We were like doing free almost 400. I mean, it's. Is it like not using the. I mean, it is loaded. What the hell? What the fuck? Okay. Maybe 60 hertz, 60 hertz, but we don't have VSync. Why is Steam logs doing like 400 megs of GPU memory? You talk about standard tools a lot. It's a file philosophy, overrated or genius. Um, you know, if we talk about Linux as, you know, a system that's designed to do enterprise work or commercial work, or basically, you know, if we think about it as a tool that's meant to run an application, and basically, if we think about that in an enterprise environment, then you know Linux is perfect. It's a very easy to learn, easy to master, easy to customize piece of software. But if we try to think about your microphone turned bad crunchy, um, this is probably. How about now? Is it still bad? Oh shit, I know why. Okay. Uh, yeah, I think that it actually switched to my AirPods microphone, and I think that's why. Is it good now? I think I can check. Yep, that's Rin Tosaka. I kind of thought that I need a themed. I kind of thought. Okay, so the audio is working fine now. I kind of thought that I need a themed anime character for each series of Arch tutorials or Linux tutorials I'll be doing, and I've already used uh, Asuka for the secure Arch Linux, so I thought that I might switch franchises, and for, I don't know, gaming on Arch Linux, I can use Rin Tosaka from Fate Stay Night. Uh, let me just. Okay, so something is still using, but it shouldn't be an issue. One more time. By the way, do you actually enjoy streaming this stuff or just doing it for fun between projects? No, I hate it. I hate it so much. I mean, I do enjoy streaming. And I do enjoy talking to people, especially if I have something interesting to showcase, right? So right now I have this interesting tidbit of knowledge about Linux, ArchLinux, gaming on Linux, wanting to verify, check that. So yeah, so I do enjoy, or maybe when I enjoy from, sorry, or maybe when I stream from the data center I work at, because that also happens, right? Uh, I think that data center is a very nice environment to stream from. I mean, I can then showcase some interesting hardware I have lying around. Right now I'm streaming from home, but I do stream from different locations. I think that, like I said, the best fun I have during streams is when I have something interesting to talk about or showcase or do. Right? If I don't have anything to talk about and I still decide to fire up the stream, then it's basically me being in front of nobody doing nothing, and that's just one, not fun, and two, not a very good content to put up even as a VOD, right? Uh, Still 54 FPS. Shit. So this will definitely be clipped as a YouTube short or whatever, because if this wasn't live streamed from the very beginning, where we were hitting like 350 FPS, then how could I basically convince somebody that that even happened? I wonder if we'll notice the same degradation in Warhammer. Like, what the hell? But by the way, I also wanted to go back to what you asked about, everything is a file philosophy, overrated or genius, because I did have some, highly controversial opinion about Windows being better than Linux. And, overall, Linux has good philosophy. Sadly, that philosophy is shifting a little. I do think that, with Linus Torvalds being at the helm, everything is fine. If we were to lose Linux might completely disappear. It might become too fragmented. Do you tweak your CPU governor for games or just leave it on schedule till? I have no idea what's tweaking CPU governor for games. Does it mean that you are changing the scheduler? But changing the scheduler is like a ripping off a part of your OS and transplanting something other in its place. Oh, that's what you mean. Uh, I think it's not necessarily, something that you can actually, mm, because it highly depends on your cooling, right? If you don't have highly efficient cooling, then your boosting mileage may vary anyway. So no amount of governor or settings may help if your CPU is hitting 110 degrees after 0.5 seconds. So with Warhammer, we are having like average of 128, let's just round that up, and max we have 128 and max 2026. Some people leave it on schedule since it's more dynamic, but performance can give more stable clocks. I would have to read up on that. To be honest, I don't really know how it works on the Linux. On Windows, I have like, you know, performance setting in my power settings. But on Linux, I am completely unfamiliar with that. Okay. Let's close everything. By the way, that was done on 1080p. Both of those. So let's restart. And let's reboot into Windows. I don't think you can see. I need to fix some stuff. So quickly. Okay, now you can see my Windows display. So this isn't cloned, but basically it just works better on Windows. So we'll leave it at that for now. Let me just fire up Steam. It's the same Steam account, but it has some other things, you know, available to play. Let me just install the Talos Principle again. I mean, like I said, boosting on desktop PCs, like you said, it may help prevent the stutters, but if you are hitting 300 FPS, you might as well just enable VSync, even if you have like 144 or 200 Hertz monitor. I used to dual boot, but got tired of grab breaking every kernel update. Just went full Linux and passed through Windows in a VM when I needed way less drama. Have you noticed that I don't have grab? I am basically building a unified kernel image, and I'm populating the EFI entry manually because not all motherboards detect properly the EFI binaries. So basically, because my capture card didn't capture my whole boot process, what I've done was I was basically hitting F10 for boot menu on my motherboard, and then I could choose between Arch and Windows, and it works the same way on my laptop. So I have no grab at all. I just choose in BIOS, in UEFI firmware on in BIOS, basically what I want to put. And those two systems live on their own separate hard drives. Okay, it has downloaded, but I probably need to fire it up and then tell it to use the other monitor, the capture card output actually. Mm. Okay, so it doesn't work like that. I have to change some display settings. Oh, perfect. Just chain load Windows from QEMU if I really need it. Saves me from rebooting into sadness every time I forgot to grab a file. You mean you are running that as a virtual machine? That is suboptimal, especially in Windows case. Okay, it might be looking weird, but that's because my monitor is not 60:9 aspect ratio. But we can try that anyway. We'll see how that goes. So here we have broken through the 400 FPS barrier, no problem. So even at our best performing Linux execution we've had at the very beginning of the stream, where we are like hitting 380, Windows has just smashed past that result. Depends on how you set it up, to be honest. Full GPU pass-through with VIFO, isolated cores, huge pages, fdef for native input perf. Windows barely notices. I mean, if I have to virtualize Windows, I am running Hyper-V. 432. Okay, so that's 1 point for Windows. So let's also try the Total War Warhammer. Hyper-V is okay, but if you want real performance and full GPU control, VFIO with QEMU is where it's at. It also plays nice with Linux. I mean, if you want to virtualize Windows and you want to have full performance, then you are stuck between either VMware or Hyper-V anyway. Like VMware has a superior technology when it comes to utilizing CPU in between multiple VMs. You can literally assign VM as a slice of the cake of the CPU frequency. This is not something you can do on QEMU. Sorry, but enterprise hypervisors that people pay money for are just so much better compared to what people just do for hobby. Oh, so here we have more. Which one? Which one did we do before? Like dwarfs were versus greenskins or Empire? Let's do Empire first. Okay, so this is not the benchmark we were using previously, definitely. Okay, so I might just like not waste our time on that. It was dwarfs versus greenskins. So I think that Warhammer may be a bit more consistent with our Linux results. Ever messed with kernel ftrace to see bottlenecks? Um, I have profiled kernel, but that was, I don't know, very long time ago. I haven't had a need to do that recently, at least. And lo and behold, here on Windows, our average FPS is the max FPS from the Linux test. And here our max is 373. How much better is it to play on Linux versus Windows? Your question has a thesis in it. And to be honest, we just proved that that hypothesis is wrong. We just run benchmarks on Linux and Windows, and it turns out that Windows has way better performance. I'm new here. No, I don't mean to rip on you. Don't worry. No. So basically, we just run some benchmarks, and on Linux, we had, like in Talos principle. I mean, if you want like TLDR, Linux is not great for gaming. At least not yet. Many games outright don't work on Linux. They are not like turnkey plug and play. They're, even if Steam allows you to play on with games on Linux, then it's not doing that for every game. On Windows, everything just works, right? And even with older games, it's more performant, basically. I started messing with Linux back when you had to compile your own kernels to get basic hardware working on LMAO. Yeah, some people still use Gentoo. I still know people at work that run Gentoo daily on their laptops. If you have any questions, ask away. I'm rebooting to Linux. Is an Intel GPU a good choice for gaming on Linux? Uh, that's a difficult question, and I think that the only way you can answer that is by asking yourself how much money do you want to spend? If you want some, uh, fairly decent and cheap GPU, and you are willing to basically trust Intel, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean like if you want to put your money on Intel and basically, help other GPU manufacturer other than Nvidia and AMD to surface on the GPU market, then sure. I understand drivers for I understand drivers for Intel GPUs suck, but an A5080, for example, runs horribly on Windows. I mean, if you are talking about GPU drivers and games, that this is a this is an environment where it's like a system of connected glasses, right? So the drivers are dependent on the games, and the games are very often dependent on the drivers. So it's like, a game studio makes a game, and they have it working, and then they release it, and then Nvidia optimizes their drivers based on the way the developers have programmed the game, which basically forms a closed loop, right? Like a snake eating its own tail. I mean, I haven't been like close with the Intel benchmarks, but I would say that if something works terribly on Windows, then it won't be working better on Linux. Like that's just my um, that's just the way I see it. So Intel are just eating compote instead of updating. Like I said, it's very very complicated, right? I mean, Gamers Nexus has this amazing video where they basically have an Intel guy explaining how drivers work. This fixing Arc and how drivers work. What's the toughest server issue you've had to debug with zero downtime? Debug live with zero downtime. Uh, I work with academia HPC center, so there's like the servers are very rarely an issue that has to be debugged in live with zero downtime. Most of the time, if something has to be done live with zero downtime, it has to do with a service or with network that cannot go down, because there is a topology made the way it is, or like some other stuff that has to do with power or cooling, with power generators uh, and water loops and stuff like that. So I have the privilege of just being, the guy that plugs everything out and says like, fuck you all, I have to fix this now. But I still think that, the GPUs that Intel does are at best at NVIDIA 5060, maybe 5070 level. I don't have favorite distro. I work with what I have to work with. Linux is a tool. I use distros I have at work. Hey, when did you start having that shiny head? There is actually a funny story about that. I was at work, like at my previous previous workplace, and I was arguing with a fellow coworker about some networking stuff, and he said to me, because I had luscious hair, and he said to me, uh, a balding sysadmin will not be telling me how the things work here. Like a balding sysadmin will not be lecturing me on how things work. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean by balding? And I basically came home, took a mirror, and I was like, holy shit, I'm actually balding. That was the day I just grabbed, the hair clippers and went bald. I think I started balding like when I was 26, 25, maybe somewhere around that. So intrusive thoughts one, yeah. So yeah, I think I have an answer to favorite distro. I don't have any single favorite distro. I hate all of them equally. Okay, we are back on Linux, by the way. Arch? No, no. Like I said, distros are tools. Uh, they all serve different purpose. Like Arch is has like rolling release. It's good if you want to use it on a laptop, for example, and if you have like a brand new laptop with a new hardware. But I would say I would never install Arch on a server, right? So on server I would go with Debian, Rocky Linux, maybe Ubuntu, depending on the use case, right? Uh, but the reasons why I would do that are, so different. And I simply cannot look at distros as, something that's better or worse because I have been cursed with knowledge. I basically know that distros don't matter at all. Like, if you sat me down and gave me a Fedora, I would be fine with Fedora. If you sat me down in front of Arch, I'm fine with Arch. If you sat me down in front of Ubuntu, I'm fine with Ubuntu because those are not the things that matter. Like the what I want to say, the release schedule, the way they maintain their software repositories, right? The release model, the way they approach the software packaging, right? That's the thing that those are the things that matter to some degree. And let's be honest, there are only three distros that are actually, unique in Linux. Everything is either Red Hat based, Ubuntu / Debian based, or ArchLinux based. That's this is a generalization, but that's pretty much it. Final and Arch is no joke once you start juggling Pacman kernels and configs. Been doing that long enough to know how to keep it smooth. I have never used a non-standard kernel, and I've never had to. Like Pacman is just another package manager. It's the same with apt, yum, or DNF. It's just a package manager. This stuff is actually daunting to me, too much information. If you are interested in Linux, in computers, in possibly in computer science. Do yourself a favor if you can. I'm not saying it has to be this way. It depends on the situation. It varies from person to person, obviously. But if you can, go to university for a computer science course. By the time you'll see Linux, you'll have all the knowledge, all the theory, and all the math apparatus, and anything else that's required to actually properly start grasping the way computers and Linux work. Ever thought about testing one for those latency sensitive workloads? Um, for example, I'm not sure what you mean. Like I/O latency? Like for me, latency sensitive workload is storage that's being basically shared across a data center, for example. I mean, like kernels. I still don't get what you mean. If you want to say like real time or whatever it's called, I don't think many people are using Linux for that. Like real time operating system stuff like that, or I don't think. Like you would have to give me an example. Lo and behold, 383 FPS. Previously it was like 50. But still it's way less than we've had on Windows. Like, do you possibly mean like embedded systems? Because that's like a whole different kind of worms. No, you're not stupid. Don't worry. There are no bad questions and there are no bad answers. Is there anything else I can install just to try out? Green Fandango. Oh, actually, Hitman would be good. It's not necessarily graphically intense, but still. Yeah, we can try Hitman. Or Saints Row, lol. What is the hardest thing you can do to stress this 5070? I think firmware. Like, if I just wanted to stress the GPU, I would say firmware. And I know I can be pronouncing that funny, so just to be clear, yes, this, I'm pretty sure you are familiar with that. But when it comes to games, sadly, there aren't Steam supported or GOG supported games that would be, I would say, I don't know, cyberpunk level of graphics that I could just click and play without Wine or other extra software. Ever debugged the silent CPU microcode failure causing kernel panics on NUMA nodes? Only met like 2 people in 30 years with it. Silent CPU microcode falling causing kernel panics on NUMA nodes. So if it hits, like if NUMAs are the problem, then I would probably, I mean, I haven't like debugged that sort of stuff on that level. because first of all, I would rather pay the support team that's responsible for that to do that for me. I just will send them stack traces. But I think I did debug NUMA problems to the point where I was switching RAM sticks in a server. Like the inside of an airplane cockpit, like an inside of an airplane cockpit reading that. Yeah. Is this on Wayland? How's the Wayland experience on the 50 series thus far? It works. It's not, I would say, amazing, but that's maybe about the whole ecosystem. But overall, it just works. Sadly, the performance is noticeably better on Windows with the games I've tested, but it's still fairly decent. So this is a live stream, so those tests I'm doing are mostly, fun and games. But if I ever were to make a YouTube video about, gaming on Arch, which I will do, but it will take some time, then I would have to properly test this, right? So I would have to have some proper monitoring solution. I would have to check what's the power usage of the whole package, of the whole PC, of my whole desktop. I would have to make sure that the game settings are the same between platforms. Stuff like that, right? So what we are doing here, and if you are late to the stream, if you will be clicking through the VOD and checking for the numbers I've got previously, then be aware of that I know that this is just a quick testing just to have a high level concept of how things work, but to properly test and benchmark all of the stuff, then some more effort needs to be put in. But overall, it works without like any extra hurdles or steps. It works. With a few exceptions, to be honest, but I think the weirdest thing we've encountered today was that the Total War Warhammer 1 works and Total War Warhammer 2 does not. And I have no idea why. Hi, do you check the BTRF? Did you check if the BTRFS sub-volume teleportation with the pulse? Sorry, did you have a stroke while writing that message? I don't mean to be rude, but I mean, I have gotten some amazing messages during today's stream. Oh, yeah, sorry. I think I've said that, but nobody was on the stream back then when I started. I have gotten an amazing comment on one of my other socials, I think on Threads. Um, so basically, yesterday or maybe today in the morning, I wrote a message on my Threads account that said, I've successfully installed ArchLinux alongside of my Windows on my desktop PC during yesterday's live stream. Today, I'll try to game on Linux. And the response I've got was some guy saying, what do you want? A fucking cookie? I mean, literally made my day. It's so good. Jesus, if you are present here, my guy, I salute you. So funny. Neat. Been considering upgrading soon. Realistically, I would probably want to go with AMD, but surprisingly, the Nvidia cards are better value here. Well, that's interesting. Where do you live? Is it on the planet Earth even? I've mainly went with Nvidia because CUDA, And I think I shared my highly unpopular opinion on my channel. Here and here. So if you like highly unpopular opinions, then you are cordially invited to watch those two vids. Try CS2. No, sorry, I only play real games. But actually, that would be a very good game to benchmark, to be honest, because many benchmarks do try CS2. Just pushing some experimental entropy injection to the system deflux capacitor results may vary proceed with. Don't worry. I mean, to be honest, what the fuck is this? This is pure system D. Sweden. Seriously? Like, have price on Nvidia GPUs dropped that by that much? Flashing the IPC semaphore with tachyon pulses from the BIOS flux rate. Don't worry about it, just some fun. Yeah, I mean, you can upgrade that by switching from semaphores to monitors. Try spinning, that's a good trick. How's the DLS4 text quality in 400k resolution in Vim? To be honest, actually, yeah, by the way, so if we launch NVIDIA SMI, watch N1 NVIDIA SMI, you can see that actually a lot of stuff from just the graphical interface uses the GPU. And it actually can be felt really well before and after you install the proper NVIDIA driver. So before I done that, everything was like, you could felt that it was not utilizing the proper GPU for the job. But right now it's really smooth, and you can see that even in the NVIDIA SMI. I meant the AMD cards haven't really dropped since launch, but the NVIDIA cards have seen a steady decrease in price since release. Yeah, well, NVIDIA was highly overpriced at the release, but to be honest, I don't think that they'll drop to the AMD level. Right? Like, NVIDIA simply has more to offer for people that are not only buying a GPU for gaming, but for professional stuff, right? So, like, sadly or not, this is where NVIDIA is very much triumphant. Oh yes, classic giraffe sock interface syndrome, totally known to cause tachyon pulse desync. You gotta recalibrate the fuzzy bootloader. They say founder, yeah, thanks, man. I mean, looking at that, looking at all of your messages, my lovely, lovely viewers, I wish that for this stream I had like the chat embedded in the stream's video as an overlay. I might configure that later. I have not that configured on this machine I'm streaming from. Hopefully the YouTube will save the live replay of the of the chat. CAD models. Uh, I think I know what you're asking. So I don't think that there's a lot of like widely used CAD software available for Linux, like Solid Edge works and stuff like that. I don't think that's something that is even is even existing on Linux. I guess it depends on demand. The people I've been around, people all have Sorts of David versus Goliath mentality and don't want to support Nvidia. Yeah, I mean, I would like to buy AMD if they actually made a good card or actually stuck to some good technology, because it's not that Nvidia makes amazing cards. Nvidia has won everyone over with CUDA like 10 or 15 years back. That's the proper like reason for their success. It's not that they are making amazing GPUs. They have been making good GPUs, better than ATI AMDs, but CUDA is at the source of their dominance right now. Why is it so hard to stream on Linux? It's not necessarily hard. It's just that my setup is convoluted because I wanted to stream in a way where I can restart the computer in order to switch between Windows and Linux. So I am using some capture cards and stuff like that, and that's kind of finicky. But all in all, it just works. Like OBS just works. I have tried that on Arch. I have tried that on Windows. It just works. Watch out for those QWERTY tools hijacking your PC over Zoom call time to deploy some firewall nets. I got 78 XT. How cooked am I? I don't know. I have no idea. Like, this is like, I have no idea what those numbers mean, because AMD has been so inconsistent with their naming conventions that I have no idea what sort of generation that is, what sort of model that is, what sort of tier of cards that is. I have never had, okay, maybe not never, but I haven't had like AMD card for the past 15 years, so personally I don't know. Quantum Spaghetti debugging the firewall with kernel. Super cooked, damn. Throw out your card and use integrated graphics. I got right. Ryzen 5060 am high cooked. You start to sound like DeepSeek. I remember DeepSeek on their like when I run the smallest 1 gig instance of DeepSeek AI, it started hallucinating like CPUs and GPU models, and it was like saying that, yeah, just buy AMD Ryzen i5. Like, just remember that, no matter what GPU you have, that's fine. If you can play the games you want to play, that's fine. I have literally upgraded to 5070 Ti from GTX, from GeForce 1060, like from a 10-year-old GPU. And up until now, I was completely fine with using that 1060. And to be honest, I probably would have still been using that 1060 because everything I wanted to play just works. But I finally thought it's high time to actually upgrade in order to have more enterprise features for video editing, for testing out AIs, to have more VRAM and stuff like that. Inject that AI into my veins. Yeah, kill me, please. With Radeon 1200 FGD ARM CPU, am I cooked? Like a 7080 XT. I mean, yeah, I think you're fine. This is like the last gen? I mean, you're fine. Like, I have the 5070 Ti. I was wondering whether should I get like 5080 or 5090, but finally I figured that it will not fit into my PC case. But I'm personally not using almost any of those DLSS or FrameGen features, or even upscaling. You aren't using enough buzzwords like Gen like 4060 Ti equivalent. I got Matrox card. I cooked. Yeah. You should upgrade that to Voodoo free. Machine learning. Machines. Algorithms. AI. Technology. I should have that Stanley Tucci clip from Transformers. Get the investors up in here. Yeah, should I call you my viewers the investors? It's like Seth Sintech is calling his viewers the Merchants Guild. Should everyone in here be actually an investor? Is this like a investors meeting? It's a stock and I'm here for it to go up. Line goes up, everybody is happy. Line goes down, everybody else is sad. I don't know, we get to share of the company. Yeah, I can produce you with some worthless shares. Like right now, don't worry, I can give you as many as you want because we are worth nothing. The YouTube channel is not even monetized after 2 years of existence. Running my galactic APU GPU on a cosmic jelly beans and encrypted stardust, deploying imaginary containers in the multiverse cluster. Now you are starting to sound as if you were playing the, oh my god, what's it called? Endless Space. That's literally like I think the lore for one of the factions in Endless Space. Okay, I'm gonna hit a quick bio break. Be right back. Oh, I'm back. Jesus, what the hell did I miss? I wish Linux was easy. Linux is easy, man. Listen, remember, everybody at some point had no idea how to use Linux or how to work with it, so you just have to learn. You just have to study or use it. I think it really depends on what basis you're talking about. If you grew up with Linux instead of whatever you did, Matrox Alpha. Windows has all that PowerShell bullshit while it's sudo all over the place, god damn it. So if you grew up with Linux, I would say many people grew up with Windows and they have no idea how Windows work or how to actually utilize it. Like they have never seen Active Directory or GPC edit. And same can be about Linux. Same can be said about Linux. So why is sudo all over the place? There's a run as administrator on Windows. So run as administrator is not necessarily a sudo equivalent. It is more of a AppArmor plus sudo equivalent. So it's like Windows has solved so many problems the Linux tries to tackle for the past few years, right? Basically this is I would say a downside for Linux, that in order to do many things you have to run stuff as administrator, but you literally have to give stuff almost like explicitly full access to the system, or you have to spend a very large amount of time trying, like, creating users, dedicated users, namespaces, containers, uh, truths, whatever, right? Just so to have it isolated. Like Windows has solved so many issues. Like, you know, like, have you heard about rootkits for Windows? Those haven't been a thing in the past, like, I don't know, 10 or more years. MKD isolated, yeah. Like, I'll be honest, I know this is a very unpopular opinion, but if somebody wants to learn Linux and, actually become a system administrator, there is no better way than to go to university for computer science course. Rootkits for Microsoft Binbaus. I still have my book I bought for my classes at university about writing rootkits. And even then, even like 12 years ago, it was out of date because Windows with Windows 7 64-bit made it impossible to load unsigned code as kernel code, basically as drivers. Hey, I'm back. Hey, TTY. Oh shit, is my resolution weird? I think it is. No, it's all right. Oh, it's not full HD? Why? Oh yeah, much better. I want everything ultra. Oh, wait a second. Did you notice? I mean, I'm not sure that Hitman has that, but shouldn't there be like NVIDIA DLSS or whatever options here? Like, is it in advance or something? I don't see anything like that. May your shell stay clean and your logs forever green. Catch you on the next terminal scroll by. No clue. Yeah, I don't remember whether Hitman, the first one, had that implemented. I was fairly certain they did because this is like, you know, Hitman 1, 2, and 3 are basically the same game engine and they just add content and upgrade everything. Yeah, TTY0. Are you back or are you by? You are sending confusing messages. By the way, is anybody watching the Eurovision finals tonight? Why is there a map of Japan emoji? I think there is also a map of the world, and not even as an emoji, but in the Unicode. Weebles, yeah, fucking weeps. Oh, that was a cinematic I clicked. Shit, I'm dumb. There's only two map emojis in the GUI thing. Map of Japan and map. Is it map of Japan or is it like a white line go up on the blue background? By the way, do I have like sound? Yeah, I do. Oh my gosh, I've been living in silence for so long. Sadly, you cannot hear the game audio. It's not. I haven't configured it properly, but. It's literally called Map of Japan. I wish for nothing but to be able to make my own customize specifically for flying and managing multiple drones from a single point. You, my friend, are thinking about embedded systems and or distributed systems. I think the closer to that goal you can be by, doubling with embedded systems. I think my one of my colleagues from university had that idea as master thesis project with swarms of drones. Does this game have a benchmark? Let me just quickly go to menu before I start like just doing some crazy stuff. I really wanted to make sure that there aren't some extra options I can tackle. Oh yeah, by the way, I can switch to English, just so everybody's more at home. Yeah, as with everything, nobody tells you how long they actually spent on learning stuff. They just amaze you with results. That's a bit misleading. Lady Walewska? That sounds suspiciously Polish. Time is a concept we invented. No, time is a flat circle. Yeah, no audio. Yes, I am aware of that. So basically, when I can try fixing that. I'm not sure uh, how the Linux will react to that. I'm not sure if I don't have to disable this. Yeah, sadly, I don't think I can fix that without basically restarting the OBS. Because basically I have configured everything as video capturing device. So no audio if it's video only capturing device. For some reason on Mac OS, my capture card like gives like flipped image. Fuck, I almost closed everything. There's no game audio. Yeah, this, like I said, I cannot capture audio. But yeah, anyway, I'm heading to bed. It was nice chatting and good luck with your testing. Thanks and have a good night. Thank you for chatting also. Wait, what's your job? I'm a data center. I'm a systems and network administrator at an HPC data center. What does any of that mean? Basically, I fix network and fix servers. I mean, servers are a bit misleading. I fix network, fix servers, fix almost every issue that there is because we are a very small team. Sadly, my murder didn't go the way I planned it. Oh my gosh, I've been online for almost 3.5 hours. That's a record. Oh my gosh. So I think I'll also be wrapping up for tonight. We actually managed to play and launch some games. We actually managed to do some basic benchmarking. So I think that's, as a baseline, that's fine. Everything will be available as a VOD. So if anybody came here late, they can always catch up with the beginning of the stream. Can you hack before you go? I want to know, can you hack before you go? When you start learning computer science and when you'll be at the end of your journey, you'll understand the futility of this question. What does it mean to hack? This is alongside of asking, what does it mean to kick? Or maybe even more broad, in even broader terms, it's like, what does it mean to eat? There are so many ways to answer that. Well, it's been nice. It's been very, very cheerful evening chatting with everyone. So I say that this is great success, the streams today. So yeah, I wish you all a quiet evening and a peaceful Sunday, and I hope we'll meet again next time, either during my YouTube video premiere or another live stream. Have a good night. Bye.